Well, hello there, my royal subjects. Welcome back to the new Imperial Order. As many of you may remember, last episode we founded a new empire that is not so shattered as the previous. And in today's episode, we will be completing that empire. First things first, our milking of the anomalies coming from the Archotech Shrine is going quite well, and we are still collecting and setting up quite a stockpile of bioferrite. But the real issue here is the fact that we have so much bioferrite and we've yet to actually harness it for our purpose of creating a new empire and taking down the previous empire. And that's exactly why we are also building ourselves a smithy shop. For it is within this shop, my friends, that we will be making many a weapon as well as armor. Not only out of steel and hopefully some plasteel, but also, most importantly, out of bioferrite. To start us off, we're going to begin by making some simple helmets out of bioferrite to protect our little noggins, and our little brain buckets here should do just the trick. We're also going to be making ourselves some bioferrite gladius, that way we have a secondary weapon in case we get into melee combat that is better than a simple knife. Ah, yes, looking better already, I'd say. Obviously not the best armor, but the best that we currently have at our disposal. Ironically, after making helmets and swords out of bioferrite, we ended up having some meteorites landing near our city. Now, this was ironic because many of these, of course, being gold and silver, things that we'll be able to put in a treasury at some point and also use to fund our empire, but some of them were actually plasteel and uranium, which would also be good materials for weapons and armor. But I think we'll save them for some weapons of mass destruction in the future, as well as some machinery. We began with the silver and gold since it would be the most useful to us at the moment, and also because uranium and plasteel take absolutely forever to finish mining. Besides, it's not like it's going anywhere anytime soon. In the meantime though, as everyone's mining, I wanted to do a bit of research into Ghoul enhancements. Now, what this research will allow us to do is to create many prosthetics that we can actually surgically add on to our ghouls. Basically, we just cram them into their rotten skin as far as I'm aware, but things such as plates and barbs and basically just turning them into war machines. There was one tiny issue. We needed advanced subjects to research to be able to unlock this technology, and currently our monolith is still at the basic research tier, so we're going to have to maybe look for some new entities and things like that, but I think I'll be doing that off camera behind the scenes, as the main focus here is building our empire. Last episode I had gotten a quest about a strange signal, and that's most likely going to be some type of flesh mast with a bunch of flesh beasts, so we might send out a caravan at some point to capture one of those beasts, but again, I won't bother you with the details of that unless somebody ends up dying or something. As of right now, we have more important things to worry about, more pressing issues like a power issue that's going on throughout the city, so we built 2 brand new wood-fired generators and a new battery to keep us powered all the time, which happened just in time as we also finished up research into machining, and we're going to need some power to power our machining tables. For the foreseeable future, we are going to be going through the tech tree, going through gunsmithing, blowback operations, essentially just trying to make a straight line for gun turrets. That way we can build them to automatically protect the city's entrance at all times, and we won't have to expend and or risk the lives of our soldiers for every little threat. We would also begin expanding our milking farm here in this little mountain. That way we can capture more and more entities to suck out that sweet, succulent bioferrite. But while we were doing this, we ended up receiving communication from a defected royal guard of the Shattered Empire, requesting to come here to join us and our cause and our empire. The only catch, of course, there would be a loyal squad attacking her and thus us as well. Obviously, we ended up accepting, and she would arrive shortly thereafter. Quite frankly, if we're going to make this work, we need to get all the help that we can get, and that means as many soldiers as we can get. And to be honest with you, an experienced royal guard is probably about the best we'll be able to find. Welcome home, ma'am, to the real, true empire. Obviously, it wouldn't be long at all before the loyalty squad arrived as well. Not only were they planning on attacking us, but it would appear that they plan on sieging us, firing their shells over top of our walls and hitting us directly. A damn clever idea, as we have nothing to counter this and we'll have to attack them preemptively before they get set up. It's just a shame for them that we have an army ready at a moment's notice. It's time for us to call in reinforcements. As we already know, our soldiers cannot match the Shattered Empire's soldiers in terms of their combat experience nor their equipment, but in this fight we have something that they don't: numbers on our side. And as the Shattered soldiers were trying to set up their little siege camp, our soldiers would come in from the southern flank and begin attacking them. All this while we ourselves would begin coming from the north to do the exact same thing. Using our vertigo pulse ability from our slave, we were making them vomit, making it easier for our ghouls to tear them limb for limb. Although, all that being said, we were losing the lives of many of our soldiers coming from our settlements, although their lives were given for the most noble of causes. And as the evening continued waning on and the rain was pouring upon our new helmets, we were finally beginning to push the Shattered soldiers out of our territory, and eventually they had begun to flee. Many of them, still being affected by the vertigo pulse, were kinda stuck here, and our reinforcements were attempting to pick them off one by one. Eventually, though, what was left of them either died or left the area, and this battle had finally been won. And with it coming to an end, we would end up having many different items, weapons, armor, and resources that are now ours. To the victor go the spoils, as they say. What few remaining Imperial troops were here, we would end up stripping them of their weapons and armor, and collecting them for ourselves. Now you may notice, of course, our ghouls had taken quite a licking during this battle, but thankfully we hadn't lost either of them, and thanks to their abnormal regeneration properties, they should be healed up in no time. Maybe just a quick bite to eat to help the process along, huh? Ah, the false Imperials turned into ghoul feces. Kind of poetic, don't you think? Our new Royal Guards woman had actually survived the battle as well, with just a few bruises and scratches, thankfully, so once she's healed up and out of the infirmary, she'll be good to go. Perhaps she even has a few secrets about the Shattered. Yet another of the Imperials, though, we had found out here, who we had stripped of her weapons and armor, we would end up taking prisoner. Since she didn't die the initial barrage and attack that we sent out against them, she might just be worth keeping. And perhaps she too might have some secrets to help us out in our mission. Speaking of missions, our mining operations here in our big old bioferrite milking farm were coming along quite nicely, though it is still going to take a good bit of time. While we've been busy expanding our city and operations around the city, we've also been collecting a lot of taxes, and I think it's about time that we put these taxes back into the Empire as a whole. Not only are we going to be pumping money into our villages, upgrading them into towns and cities, making them larger with larger populations and more soldiers, but we're also going to be building things to help them with their exports, like tree farms, fur hunting camps, and even firearm factories, not only so that we can sell some weapons, but we can also distribute those weapons out to our citizens and soldiers as well. Not only that, but we're also going to be paying more settlers to found more of these towns and cities, growing the Empire furthermore, as you well know. Before too long, we'll even have numbers that rival that of the Shattered. That'll be all in due time, though. With all these new cities, as well as all these new farms and factories and camps, we're making just over 11,000 silver in taxes every 5 days, which is quite a bit. Of course, though, we also plan on doing a little bit of exporting ourselves from the capital here with all the cloth that we've been growing, but not just with some local towns and settlers. We want to be able to sell much of our cloth into the stars as well, and that's exactly why we've decided to build ourselves a comms console. The Shattered have the technology and means of trading with traders in orbit around the planet, and we plan on doing the exact same thing and hopefully taking some of their business. We would end up contacting the Orbital Traders Hub to pay and request quest for a combat trader in the very near future. Now, of course, this does cost a little bit of money, but we will be making plenty more. Ironically, after paying to have a combat supplier in orbit around the planet, we also have the Outlanders here with a trade caravan, at which point we would end up selling them plenty of our cloth as well, but not to worry, there's a lot to go around for everyone. After we finished up trading, we also detected that there was a major space battle in orbit around the planet. Perhaps one of the traders and somebody else are in something of a conflict, I suppose. Either way, we have a lot of chunks of spacecraft as well as drop pods and many other things falling from the heavens into our area. Not that we really mind, as these are nothing more than free steel and components as long as they don't fall on the city, or us. The crew falling from the stars also didn't belong to any specific faction, so we decided to capture one of them. We were going to capture more, but the others bled to death before we could. Now then, as the city continues growing and expanding, and we also have more machines that suck up more power, we've decided to put all of our research power and priority into geothermal power generation. This should be able to power the entire city without any issues. As we begin researching into this new technology, we're also going to be starting yet another major mining and construction project in the northmost mountain of the city above the Archotech Monument. This, my dear compadres, is going to be our throne room, where our Emperor or Empress will be making many decisions. You'll notice that there's also two other rooms. One shall be a living space and the other a very special storage area. With construction underway, we would also end up getting the combat supplier trade ship in orbit around the planet, who we would quickly trade with, purchasing many different types of weapons, some of which were actually charge weapons, which should be able to rival and match that of the Shattered. It'll be a while before we can distribute charge technology out to all of our soldiers within the Empire, but for now, those at the capital city will be able to enjoy this high-tech weaponry, and also be able to keep us safe with it, of course. But now that our throne room is complete, it's time for us to elect an Emperor and/or Empress, as you can see. Jenny, being the most knowledgeable and experienced out of all of us here in the capital, was the obvious choice. She knows a lot about the Shattered Empire across the galaxy. She also knows a lot about Archotech and anomalies and entities, and thus, of course, she should be our leader, and so it is. At some point, we'll need to get her some more formal and royal attire, of course, but at the moment we are at war, and so this will have to suffice for the time being. We have much bigger things to worry about than just looking the part. Speaking of, the Outlanders now seeming to prefer us over the Shattered Empire, which is very good news, have been providing us with plenty of intel, such as an Imperial convoy in the nearby area. This is the perfect target and opportunity, for not only will we be stealing their resources, but we'll also be crippling their supply line in the process. And in doing so, we would also gain some goodwill with deserters who are sympathetic to our cause, and they would also give us an LTEC staff along with an armor skin. Glad we accept. As quick as a flash, we would send out a small caravan who would end up rendezvousing with our reinforcements at this convoy. In the meantime, while they're traveling back home, we are expanding the city. This time around, we're actually going to be producing something of a small art workshop. This way, we can go about decorating our city with these beautiful artworks, as well as maybe even selling them for more profit. But before we could finish it, Vulture, along with one of our ghouls and our reinforcements, would arrive at the convoy ready to strike. It would seem that they've taken out the cargo containers while waiting to be rescued by their fellow Shattered members. Oh, you poor dumb animals, you've brought them right to me. Did the work for us, did you? I can't wait to sack that truck and everything that it has. And we just gotta cut through a few of you sorry sons of bitches to do it. Something that I don't expect to be all that difficult, seeing how the party party is already here. All of our soldiers coming from nearby settlements have come to help us, and thanks to our overwhelming numbers, the Shattered don't stand a chance. Though they may try, there was nowhere for them to hide from our bullets nor from our Ghoul. And with the death of one last remaining Shattered Imperial, this fight was as good as over. God, it feels good to be a winner, baby. Go ahead, Bayulo, have yourself a little snack. You've earned it. Whoa, not too fast now, you'll get a tummy ache, silly. We approached the convoy and destroyed their pathetic little landmine thing that was supposed to alert them or whatever. We destroyed it and quickly opened up their cargo containers, and we also gathered up some intel from the truck itself. Ended up getting ourselves a sweet siege breaker helmet that is sure to protect our noggins better than our bioferrite helmets, as well as a bomb pack that's essentially an anti-grain warhead, but in a square box, and you carry it around. We quickly loaded all these new items up and began heading back home, but on our way back, the caravan was ambushed by some waster pirates. It would appear that it was one singular waster pirate, none too impressive if you ask me. As she approached us with her hand cannon, we approached her with our fist, beating her brains out onto the stone ground, and we actually started tending to her wounds. We'll take you back home as our prisoner, and with that we could actually return home without getting ambushed again. You know, hopefully. We were also finally using our art workshop to produce some proper sculptures, the first of which we would end up putting in our throne room, and then we started working on a small stockpile for sale. Sculptures are often very useful for trading off for weapons and armor from orbital traders who like some exotic goods and artworks. In other words, our kind of people. Now, some odd hours later, our caravan had finally returned home with all their resources and items in tow, as well as our prisoner, Velez. I'm afraid this poor pirate wasn't able to prove herself useful to us, so we would have to make her useful to us. Looks like we'll be making a soldier out of you yet, pirate. Yet another ghoul in our ranks. We look forward to you killing people for us and possibly dying and then being resurrected to do it all over again. We also went ahead and unloaded all of the things that we had brought with us, including some urns. Not that they're super important, I just thought that they might look nice around the city. We also brought some of the rifles that our reinforcements had dropped when they died. I mean, they are technically ours. We bought them, didn't we? We had also finished our research into geothermal power some time ago, and it is finally time for us to build our very first power generator based on this technology. As you can see, our lights have never been brighter, harnessing the very planet itself to power our capital. That in itself is also poetic, I feel. Next up in terms of research is going to be our multi-analyzer, which is probably going to be one of the longest research projects to date, so we'll check back in on that later. For now, we need to build our storage facility above the throne room. This is actually going to be where we store all of our silver, gold, and jade. Although we don't have much jade at the moment, we mostly just have silver from taxis. I was sick of storing this all outside, as it's not very safe nor secure, obviously. Now, with this facility, our only concern is not going to be, is it safe and secure, but it's going to be, is there enough room for all of our empire's money? Plenty of room to expand though, if need be, and we would also end up finishing Jenny's bedroom here next to the throne room as well. As she is our empress, we need a proper room for her that isn't just out in the open with everyone else's. Not the most royal nor bougie bedroom that was ever created, but definitely the most royal and bougie within the city. Speaking of, our city is coming along very nicely and is filling out the entirety of the inside of our little valley here that we've settled. I really like it. Hopefully you there, yes, you do too. So much in fact that you'll give me a like, pretty please. Alright, that's enough begging for your love. Right now, we have an Archotech shrine to attune. We finally discovered enough entities that we can attune this, and once we do so, it will now be giving us advanced research points instead of basic. Meaning, of course, course, we can tackle our project of Ghoul enhancements. Sorry it took me so long. I had to capture a flesh beast. Nobody died or anything, but somebody might have a metal horror infection. We'll find out. Aside from all of that, though, we are settling new territories around the planet with our empire, with many a town popping up from the north to the west to the south to the east. If there's fresh water, fertile ground, and shattered traitors to murder, you better bet your ass that we're going to be there. For this planet is ours. It belongs to us and us alone. The size of our empire is beginning to truly rival that of the traitorous shattered bastards, and boy do I love it. As large as we are now on the planet, and just being as big and as strong as we are having the numbers that we do, they are definitely going to consider us a very, very serious threat. And all that being said, we need to prep for war, so we're building ourselves some mortars, of course, as well as a machining shop, a place where we can actually produce plenty of shells for said mortars, as well as weapons for our soldiers. One of these such weapons is going to be a piece of apparel, a mini turret backpack. Essentially, every single one of our soldiers is not only going to be capable of fending for themselves during a fight, but they will also have an automated companion on their shoulders at all times who will be able to assist them as well. This isn't just something that we're implementing with our main guard at the capital either. We are going to be distributing this technology throughout every single town and city that is under our control. Now, of course, the smaller cities will still be using our previous loadout for their men and women who are fighting, but going forward, for some of our larger ones who can afford it, they are going to have these backpacks as well as a heavy shield belt and a pet warg to keep them company. As you can see, we mean business. The perfect test for our new soldiers' loadout, I think, would be attacking an underfarm ran by the Shattered. This type of farm provides all of their nearby settlements with a steady supply of food, so once again, not only will we be able to collect some useful technology and weapons, but we'll be able to begin starving out our enemies. And the deserters are also willing to provide us with yet another reward, a recon eye, L-Tex vest, and a ranged shield belt. Once again, we accept. But before the mission takes place, the recon eye reward reminded me that we had yet to install the armor gland that we have, so we decided to go ahead and perform surgery on Cook, giving it to him. You've probably guessed by now, but once we have the means to do so, Cook here is going to become a very heavy soldier for us. Not because we're going to feed him too much and he's going to be disgustingly obese, but because he's going to have a lot of heavy weapons and armor. You already know, sorry. We also have our next research project, which is going to be a transport pod. Now, this might not seem all that useful, but it is a prerequisite for us to begin research into SRTSs, which are ships that are capable of flight. I also wanted to say, in case you're wondering how we're doing all this research so fast, well, we're actually not. A lot of time is elapsing in between all of these clips. I don't know at this point how long we've been on the planet, but we've been here for quite a while, and I'm just cutting a lot of it out. Anywho, though, some time later, we had already sent out a caravan to attack the Underfarm controlled by the Shattered, who would end up arriving sometime later. This farm was technically the first time that we had ever attacked one of the outposts controlled by the Shattered, and thus we were a little bit surprised to see how well defended it was. Not only with many a skilled soldier, but also an interesting, unique turret in the middle, something that we would hope to maybe harness for ourselves, but if we have to destroy it, we will do so. As is expected, I'm sure by this point, we called in our reinforcements, and it was nice to see them scramble in from the woodwork with their pet wargs and new equipment. They immediately began coming from the eastern flank, attacking the enemies as more of them came from the northwest to do the same. This was a perfect maneuver as it allowed us to sneak up from the south ourselves. We would manage to take cover behind some steel walls and fire at the enemies. We actually had them pinned down. And now that we have the upper hand and they are on the back foot, killing them should be a breeze, you would think, but many of their soldiers came out with warhammers and shield belts in an attempt to try to kill us. Thanks to our plasma swords, this would not be the case. We would do our best to stay together in a group and pick them off one by one. Eventually, what remained of their forces here at the farm would attempt to flee the area. We tried to kill as many as possible as they were doing so, and we somewhat succeeded, though some of them got away. As to be expected, but as we approached what remained of the structures in the farm, the turret had been destroyed, unfortunately, meaning we won't be able to use it to our own will, but we will be able to take the resources like advanced components from it. We also had a couple of enemies who had survived, so we decided to tend to their wounds, and we would end up taking them back home with us. As for our ghouls, it would seem that 2 of them have died during the skirmish, though this isn't really a big issue as we can resurrect them once we research the technology, that is. With a few final volleys from our assault rifles, we would destroy the water main here, completely killing any crops that they were growing and any hopes of them eating this winter in the area. With yet another successful mission under our belts, it is time for us to gather up our new things, our enemies that we've captured, as well as the corpses of our ghouls, and head back home, which we would arrive at shortly thereafter. Now, one of these enemies we would actually capture and begin attempting to recruit, as she would prove to be quite useful to us, but the other was only going to be useful for us as a ghoul. She had the perfect build, she was absolutely massive, and now she is undying. Well, sorta. As mentioned, our other 2 died, but we're gonna bring them back. We stuffed them in the freezer, that way they don't rot. Speaking of ghouls and freezers, though, we have so many ghouls that are joining us here at the capital, I think they need a freezer of their own so that we can store corpses for them to feast on, as right now we're forcing them to go out and hunt wild animals, when realistically, if we are fighting the Shattered, and say we get, I don't know, 15 or 20 of their dead bodies and stuff in this new freezer, they could eat for months at a time. It's honestly the next step in creating a ghoul army to rule over the planet and to crush our enemies with an iron rotting fist, of course. Think of a ghoul as similar to maybe say a tank, some other weapon of war like that, where it can do all these crazy things and kill all these people, but it still needs fuel at the end of the day. And this tank's fuel just so happens to be corpses of humans. And animals. We once again had another trade caravan from the Outlanders, as we had many times before, but this one was a combat trader, and we would end up purchasing many mortar shells like shrapnel shells, medicine, and most importantly, 2 sets of power armor. These 2 sets of power armor would be given to Cook and Sidones respectively. Cook, of course, the Phoenix armor, as mentioned, he's going to be our big old heavy soldier, and Sidones because she is one hell of a fighter in terms of shooting and melee, so I think she'll need it. We were also yet again expanding further and further all over the planet with our towns and cities. The main continent here in the north is completely full of our empire, though of course there's still plenty of room to spare, but as you can see, we are very, very large now. Last episode, when I said the empire is back, I meant it. We also recruited the Shattered soldier that we had taken prisoner previously, known as Pro Regal, I believe is how you pronounce her name. I may just call her Pro from here on out, but she seems to be one hell of a capable soldier as well, so we're happy to have her. I had almost forgot as well that we got our recon eye from the deserters as a reward for taking out the farm and making the area safer for us all, so we decided to surgically remove Vulture's right eye and implement the new recon eye, and this shall make her one hell of an eagle eye, no pun intended, but also one hell of a shot, which is more important. Since we had also finished up our research into ghoul enhancements quite some time ago, I had Sidones begin creating some military prosthetics for our little goobers. It's a good thing we've been stockpiling up all that bioferrite. I had planned on selling it, but I think think this is a better use. The next step in this process was obviously surgically adding all of these prosthetics onto our new Ghoul as a test subject. Luckily, she can't die. Well, she can. We already talked about this, right? And at the end of the day, our little rotting Ghoul tanks were actually looking like just that. Some tanks. Some very beefy boys. Capable of ranged attacks now, too. That long tube on their right arm, that is a flamethrower. Our little devilish rotting soldiers here are very, very dangerous now. Even more so than we had ever thought possible. Especially given the fact that we've also included a metal blood heart as part of their augmentations, making them quite impervious to damage. And all of this made possible by the advanced research that we're getting from the Archotech Shrine and Jenny's genius and knowledge about these technologies. Speaking of which, we would finally finish up research into Ghoul resurrection serums as well, meaning we could bring back to life our two that had died. Sidones, who at this point is really becoming such a helping hand with all these Ghoul serums and body parts, began making up to resurrection serums, which we would quickly use on our two deceased compadres. Once they're out of their resurrection comas in a few hours and their joints loosen back up a bit and they can move around, we're going to begin equipping them with some prosthetics as well. But with that, my friends, we have done a lot this episode. Our capital city is nearing completion, though there's still a decent bit of work to do. Our Ghouls have been equipped with the best damn military prosthetics that we can create, and our empire is massive. Dare I say it, rebuilt even. But with the planetary empire back on its feet and back in action, there's only one thing left for us to do. The traitorous shattered empire that has failed this planet and its people around every single corner. They must be dealt with. They must be exterminated. Hey there, folks. I wanted to stop in and give you a great big hug and a kiss on the forehead for watching today's video, but unfortunately, a thank you will have to suffice. I do truly hope that you've enjoyed. I know the last 3 days, I think, in a row that I've been making videos. I've been doing some VOD-style videos where we've been ruining Medieval Overhaul with modern technology. I just want to let you guys know that it's just temporary, obviously, as you can see now, and we are returning to our regular scheduled broadcast, of course. Having a lot of fun with that, though. If you haven't seen those, be sure to check those videos out, and also check out the Let's Play channel for some VODs in the upcoming future. Try to get some more subs over there before I really start that, so I'd appreciate it if you went over there and subscribed if you would like that type of content. But I love you guys. Once again, thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.